Hello once again, Mr. Pete here, and this is tips number 1042, which is part 2 of a two-part video. Make sure you watch 1041 part 1 or you will have no clue on what I'm doing here. So I'm just kind of picking up where I left off. Obviously there will be some repeat, but the title of both of these videos is which tapping fluid or oil is the best. So I went so far as to waste $50 on a torque device here from Horrible Freight, and I'm going to test 10 or 12 different types of oils or tapping fluids, and we'll determine which one is the best as far as the number of inch pounds is concerned, or that is the torque that needs to be applied in order to tap the material, which in this case will be steel. Now I've spent a lot of time preparing for this, and I've tried different samples and finally settled on using 5/16 nuts and drilling them out, and I'm going to re-tap the nuts. If a lot of people would watch this, eventually I might make some other coupons, something like this, aluminum, try different types of taps, but for now, one tap, one size, 3/8/16 in steel with about a dozen different tapping fluids. So this is very similar to what our man does on Project Farm. I follow that guy, and he does interesting tests like this, and maybe he's done this. I'm not sure, but I think it's a YouTube first. Let's begin. Alright, let's have a little recap of what I will be doing in this part 2. So I bought the QUINN from Horrible Freight. It's the 3/8 drive digital torque adapter and the 3/8 tap, and I'll be using a plug tap. I've played around with other taps in experimentation, taper taps and so on, but it serves no purpose to use a taper tap in this particular job. I'm going to use a 3/8 3-flute hand tap, machine tap plug. That's 3 or 4 taper teeth, and this is the device. It can be used in 3 modes. I talked about that before, inch pounds, foot pounds, or fig newtons. So I'm going to use inch pounds. So I have here 10 or 12 different types of oils or tapping fluids. I've always preferred tapping fluids over oil. I don't know why, just an old prejudice I had. I think from high school, the very first time that I used rapid tap, my dad had a little sample can like this, and he said, well, I'll give this a try. And just the feel, we didn't power tap, just the feel of it was so amazing. Now this is old formula. This has been on the shelf. It's about ready to rust through, so I need to start using it. Never been opened, so this would be old enough to where it's probably got toxic stuff in it. I don't care 2 hoots about that. I do know, so I'll be opening this up, I do know that Tap Magic, in whatever container you have it in, is, well, this is a new gold formula, but I liked it better when it was a thin liquid and it smelled like cinnamon. And I'm sure that was against the law, so they had to change the formula. I don't think it's as good, but I don't have any of the old tapping fluid to compare it to. So I got LPS Tap All, Easy Evapo Tap, Tap Magic, Boyer lard oil. They used to always say that lard oil was the best for threading, and it probably was years ago before they had synthetics. Here's some Sears thread cutting oil, and we'll try some Ajax detergent. Oh, no, this is a cutting oil that I got at an auction. There were 3 or 4 bottles like this. It is not motor oil. It has a very distinct smell to it, and I do use a lot of that, particularly when I have my cans of oil with a brush in it. That's what I'm usually using. I'll be using the anchorlube, and I think this is going to really be good, and get that at KBC Tools. And tap free, about half full. Some of this has just been around here forever. See how rusty the bottom is. And then I have the CMD Extreme Pressure Lube. This is the newer stuff in a plastic tube. I don't like the tube. Here is some, I'll be comparing both of these. The very old tapping or extreme pressure number 3, when it was still in a metal tube, very distinct smell, nothing like the other one. And this is the one that smelled like my dad when he came home from work, so I'm very sentimental about it. And how could you be sentimental about oil? I know that sounds crazy, but I'm a crazy and wild guy. So here's some Bow Lube. I haven't tried this yet. It's kind of a waxy substance, so we'll give that a try. It's a proprietary thing from Boeing. And if there's time, I might even try some 3-in-1. I don't think it'll be much good. And as always, if there's time, I'll be trying the good old-fashioned mare's urine. So I've made a little tag, which I'll set on the machine for each one. For instance, number 1 is the Ajax oil. And I will also be recording all of these on with pad and pencil. You won't see that, but that way I have a summary when we're done, so we can talk about which was the best, which was the worst. And I have no idea at this time. I'm just as ignorant as you are. No offense. Okay, here's my methodology, and it may be flawed, but it's the best that this old shop teacher can do. So in my preparations, which took several days, I did tap. Again, this was 1-inch 4L free machining stock, 4L, I forgot the number. And I tried some aluminum, but it takes quite a while to make these. I got to saw them off, and I got to drill the tap drill hole and all of that, so I decided I'm not sure if there's any advantage in doing that. And I spent a lot of time on that. So what I ended up doing, as I mentioned, I took, these are 5/16 hex nuts, all from the same package, so there's no variation in the material. And I drilled them out with 1/4 inch. So that is the tap drill size for 3/8/16. And then the torque adapter will be held in this big chuck. I want this to remain stationary. The work will rotate. That way the little readout here is visible to you and the camera and myself as well. So there is a adapter here, 3/8 square, and in that goes. And then of course I talked about this in the other video. These are tap sockets. This specifically for a 3/8, and it's 3/8 drive. I will be running the machine at about 90 RPM. I have no idea what the cutting speed is in terms of feet per minute. You could calculate if you want. I don't really care at this time. So that will be a consistent speed, and when I engage the tap into the work, it will get pulled in. I do not need to feed it. And I'll go in most of the length of the tap, certainly far enough, plenty far enough to be past the tapered teeth on a plug tap. I love the little Cleveland Ready reference, so in this little document I'll be showing you what tap drill size I have used and why I used it, because I want approximately a 75% depth thread, which is the most common. Not too shallow, not too deep. So on this page are the tap drill sizes and the percentages of thread, and there's formulas for all of that. You don't ever need to know that. Just look it up in a little booklet or a stare at chart, but all of those charts that are hanging on the wall will be giving you about a 75% thread depth. So at the bottom of the chart here, there's 3/8/16 and a 5/16 tap drill, which is what I used, will give a 77% depth of thread. Now, if it's a harder material, you would, want to go down here and use the O or the P. The thread wouldn't be as deep, but there'd be less chances of you breaking the tap. I've told you more than you need to know. I don't want to have to explain some of this while I'm doing the actual test, so I have in the chuck at 90 RPM, a 1-inch diameter, about 1 inch long, and this is 12L14 for the life of me. I couldn't think of that before. At my age, I need a teleprompter. So anyway, I'm going to turn on the torque attachment, and it will zero out. Now it's going to be sideways. Turn your device sideways if you want, if you want to read it. So I'm going to use the Ajax oil on this sample. This will not be included in my final tally. I just wanted you to see how this works. So I'll turn the machine on, and when I throw the clutch in, I will push the tailstock and it'll start drawing itself in. Watch the reading right here. It'll be in inch-pound. Stopping it right there, and it was only about 44 inch-pounds. So that particular material, 12L14, is extremely easy to machine. I've talked about it a lot of times. Now to get this out of here, see, this will want to keep pulling out on me. So I will just put the machine in reverse off camera and back it out. That takes a lot of extra time. I won't show all of that. Okay, we're ready for number one, the Ajax oil. Now, I did not clean the tap because I'm going to be using the Ajax oil on the little nut that I have in the 3-jaw chuck. But other than this one, I will be blowing these off and cleaning with brake cleaner between each test sample. So here we go. Turn this on, put a little oil in the nut and on the tap. I'll bring this up and guide it because there's a lot of wobble there. And turn the machine on. And here we go. Okay, that took quite a bit. That's 182 inch-pounds. So I'm going to write that down. I'll back this off and see you momentarily with sample 2. Now, this isn't totally scientific. I would like it to be, but in order for it to be scientific, I would probably have to use a new tap each time for each sample, and I would probably run 100 of each, and then give the high, you take the high and the low, throw them out, and get an average. That's how it would be done if I was a scientist instead of just an old shop teacher. So here we go with the anchorlube, and I'm going to apply it with a brush, get a little bit into the hole, and then on all sides of the tap, all flutes of the tap. There's 3 flutes, and get this started. Sample 3 is a rapid tap, 50 years old. I broke the seal. About 1/3 was gone. It probably leaked out the bottom over the years. Pounds. Okay, number 4 is tap free. I do not expect it to be much different than the previous one, but let's see. Okay, the tap free was 91 inch-pounds. What happened there at the end is it happened several other times. As I backed the tailstock off, the device here becomes disconnected from the tap, but that did not alter the 91 inch-pounds for tap free. Okay, number 5 is the CMD. That stands for Chicago Manufacturing, and it's anti-scoring extreme pressure lube, and it says it's good for tapping and all of these other operations. It's very viscous, hard to get out of there, so I'll squeeze a little bit of that inside the nut and on each flute, and I'll be right back. Okay, number 5. Wow, 86. Very good, very good. Okay, here's number 6, the CMD, extreme pressure, the older formula. It's more of a yellow color than it is black, and it smells like my dad did when he came home from work. I was small enough to where he would hold me in his arms, and that's what he smelled like in 1949. 103. That really surprised me. If my methodology is any good at all, I really expected the old one to be better than the new formula. Wrong! Number 7 is the LPS tap-all. Okay, here's number 8, Easy Evapotap. I don't know if they make this anymore. At 73 inch-pounds, this is the best so far. And in my experience over the past 60 years, I always liked the thin, clear fluids. Now they run right off. That's part of the problem why I was feeding it continuously, because it's so thin. But I just think that they are fabulous cutting fluids. Okay, number 9 is Tap Magic, the new formula. You know, it's kind of oily compared to the older version, which was strictly liquid, like the one that I did 1 minute ago. Okay, number 10 is the Boyer Lard Oil Compound, 45 cents. This can is probably from the late 50s. There's no zip code, there's no barcode, none of that stuff on there, so we know it's real old. But you know, lard and animal fats were the first lubricants that were used by machinists and metal workers because it was available in every house or every farm. The chemicals were not available yet, and quite often years ago men kept a little can of lard or even bacon grease alongside their machines, but the foreman told the guys you can't bring in bacon grease anymore because the odor would make them hungry, and some of them would sneak out the back door to Joe's Cafe across the street and order bacon and eggs, and that wasted 45 minutes. Let me digress for just a moment, even though the video is way too long and the guys with short attention spans are already gone, and that's about 3/4 of them. But have you noticed that it's quite annoying sometimes that the socket here pulls out of the adapter, and the reason that's happening is that there's a bit of a drag here on the tailstock, which weighs 50 pounds, so that's what's happening. I should have used some zip ties or something to hold it in place, but it's way too late now. So you probably noticed that and a few other things going wrong, and sometimes I don't notice those things until I start editing because I'm watching so many things and I'm so friggin' old. But looking at the directions here, you notice a couple times that little red lights came on. I didn't know what the heck that was all about. But here on the back of the package it says that there are, right here, 3 LED indicator lights and progressive audio notification. Well, I never heard anything audio, but I guess that's what that's all about, but I'm not presetting anything. And these are the directions that came. No, you know, I've got cataracts and everything else. It's absolutely impossible to read these tiny directions. Now, Henry could read them. He's got 20/20 vision. He could read these from 4 feet away. I can't read them even with a magnifier. Eventually, I actually had to use the camera on my phone to blow it up. But the directions, as usual, are kind of Chinesium, and you know, didn't really tell me too much. So, all right, back to what we're really doing here. Okay, back with the Boyer oil here, and I have used it generously. Wow, 173 inch-pounds. That was not good at all. That's an abject failure. No wonder they started using chemicals. Okay, we're getting near the end here. Number 11 is Sears Craftsman thread cutting oil. And I think this is probably being sold to thread pipe because it's that dark sulfur oil that stinks so bad. $1.14 for the Craftsman oil. Okay, number 12, the last one. This is the Bow Lube by Boeing, and it's waxy, so I have to rub it on like this, and I can't really add any more as I go along, but it must be pretty good stuff. After all, this is what they use to build Boeing 747s. $2.10. Wow! Well, maybe that's why the wings fall off of some airplanes. That was the worst of any. And I never did use this. It was given to me by Paul St. Marie probably 15 years ago, along with some Bow Shield, but I really thought that would... Maybe it's made for aluminum. After all, they don't make airplanes out of steel. Well, I've been at this for 3 hours and I'm absolutely bushed. I'm not going to do any more. I was going to do 3-in-1 oil and a few other crazy things, and I was going to use mare's urine, but my mare's in heat, so I can't do that. It wouldn't be scientific. Okay, here's the final results of the tapping fluids. Here's a summary in the order in which I actually performed the experiment. 1 through 12, there's the names of the fluids and the oils, and here is the results in inch-pounds. Now let me show you again in the order of effectiveness, best to worst. Thank you very much to my dear wife for doing all of the paperwork and the typing such as this and the emails, etc. But anyway, here is a summary in the order of effectiveness, that is from best to worst. Easy Evapotap 73 inch-pounds, Rapid Tap 80, CMD the new formula 86, Tap Free 91, Tap Magic 94, CMD the old formula 103, the Sears Craftsman oil 114, LPS tap oil 130, Anchor Lube. I thought it would perform better. I should have done a series of those because I believe it's better than that. The Ajax common cutting fluid, whatever it was, not that good, 182. The Bow Lube shocked me, and the lard oil shocked me. Not too much better than doing it dry. What is your favorite fluid, and have you ever been able to test it to see if it truly was effective or better than the others? Remember, leave lots of comments. If 15,000 or more watch this, I may do it in aluminum. I have several different kinds of aluminum cutting fluids. And, you know, I was also thinking I probably should have done a sample just using like 30 weight motor oil, detergent, non-detergent. I don't know if there'd be a whole lot of difference between those two, but I suspect it's probably as good as the lard oil. So there's all kinds of ideas that I have, but it makes the video way too long, and I really have no idea if there's any interest in this at all. Please leave a comment. You know, my videos don't cost you a dime, and I don't use Patreon, I don't beg for money, but it sure would be nice to have a tip. But here in the machine shop world, we don't call it a tip jar, we call it a chip jar. So how can you give me a chip? And it won't cost you anything. All you gotta do is hit the thumbs up button or the like button or something like that, and I would consider that to be my chip. Thanks for helping. I simply must apologize profusely. I've been putting out some terrible videos lately. It's not my intention to do that. I'm very delusional. When I'm in bed, I'm thinking everyone in the world needs to know how to change arbors on a drill chuck. Wrong. No one needs to know that. So this video has been out for one day. 3,000 people watched it, which is like nobody watched it. I will try to do better. So if you liked this video on tapping fluids, be sure and tell me. And if you can think of any other good projects that or videos that I can make using the Quinn, let me know. But I've got a bunch of interesting videos. At least I think they're going to be interesting. But I realize my judgment is terrible. But remember, I'm going to rebuild the AMF float lock bandsaw vise. I want to take this little air motor apart, see how it works. I still want to put this by Andy Kirkpatrick, the Stewart engine together, little oscillator. And I just received in the mail the other day this Sterling kit model steam engine, which I want to put together. I know some of you don't care two hoots about this, but there are some that do, and I'm particularly impressed at the quality of this brass casting. It's absolutely fabulous. Made in China? Yes. They can do good work when they want to, so watch for those videos, plus lots more before I die. I know you're probably wondering when is he going to get done talking, but I always have a few more thoughts, although they may be invalid. But any particular hex nut that you would buy in the stores is made of, I believe, very cheap steel. Not only that, if you know how they actually manufacture a nut, they usually start with rod. Or maybe it's cheap, but anyway, they're just stamping them out 1,000 per minute, and punching that hole and all of that, and because of that, that work hardens the material. So this is not easy to machine at all, and that is what I used was unknown steel that has a poor machinability rating. I'm sure it would be very interesting to do another one of these using the 12L14 screw machine stock. You saw that one sample that I made. Even though this is quite thick, it was a very low inch pounds, wasn't it? And in my experimentation, I used some regular 1018. Didn't machine that well at all. And then aluminum, that would be fun to do. And various kinds of taps, including a gun tap or, spiral point tap that pushes the chip ahead. And, brand new taps rather than, I did start with a brand new tap. But yeah, it got duller as I went along, I'm sure. Probably not measurable, but I'm sure there was some degradation of the cutting edge, especially that's why I did the dry one, the very last. So there's almost endless possibilities, and to do it correctly, of course, I would need to do, I mentioned before, 100 of these, and then throw out the high, throw out the low, and just get an average. Because I'm just doing a one-time, and that is not really very valid, but it would take a lot of material, a lot of time, and very long videos to do that, and people like short videos, and this one was, admittedly, quite long. Remember, you're in control of the editing. Speed it up a little bit if you can't take my jabbering, or slow it down on certain scenes that are interesting to you. Alright, these are just some of my final thoughts. Just a few still pictures, and I'll see you in my next video.